Let me read to you a passage from the first chapter of St. John's Gospel, verses 19 to 28. It's the Gospel for Tuesday before the Feast of the Epiphany. St. John writes, "And this is the testimony of John. When the Jews from Jerusalem sent priests and Levites to him to ask him, 'Who are you?' he admitted, and he did not deny it, but admitted, 'I am not the Messiah.' So they asked him, 'What are you then? Are you Elijah?' And he answered, 'I am not.' 'Are you the prophet?' He answered, 'No.' So they said to him, 'Who are you? So that we can give an answer to those who sent us. What have you to say for yourself?' He said, 'I am the voice of one crying out in the desert, "Make straight the way of the Lord, as Isaiah the prophet said." Some Pharisees were also sent. They asked him, 'Why then do you baptize, if you are not the Messiah, or Elijah, or the prophet?' John answered them, 'I baptize with water, but there is one among you whom you do not recognize, the one who is coming after me, whose sandal strap I am not worthy to untie.' This happened in Bethany, across the Jordan, where John was baptizing." That's from John chapter 1, verses 19 to 28. And what does it suggest to us? Well, our thoughts during the days of Christmastide are with the child and his parents, out of sight of the world in their human obscurity. In Bethlehem, few know of his existence, and hardly any know of his sublime person and mission. He is the child of the ages, long foretold and destined for a kingship that will never end. But how lowly are his circumstances. Compare his arrival with the fanfare associated with the arrival of the children of the great, those children who are princes of this world. With the Christ child, all is silent, simple, poor in surroundings, and holy. The danger is that, like those who told the Holy Family that there was no room available for them, we too will take this babe for granted and disregard him. There is an old saying that familiarity breeds contempt. The point of this one-liner is that where there is familiarity, such as in a family or workplace, it's all too easy for reverence for the other person to fade away. So too, there is a similar danger in our relations with Christ our Redeemer. If we do not work at it, our thought of Christ will be reduced to a familiar image that has a certain place in our everyday memory, but it will lack the holy awe which ought mark our love for one who is not only a person but a divine person. And so the Church places before us today the testimony of John the Baptist. He was slightly older than Jesus, and though not in the same locality, nevertheless, as his relative, undoubtedly knew him. He did not yet know that he was the Messiah to come, but he had a profound appreciation of his transcendent holiness, because when Jesus presented himself to John for baptism, John professed himself unworthy to do so. Let us take John as embodying the reverence for Jesus that ought distinguish our attitude to him. So then, let us listen to the words of John in our gospel and make them our own. "I baptize with water, but there is one among you whom you do not recognize, the one who is coming after me, whose sandal strap I am not worthy to untie." John announced the coming of the Messiah, who he was yet to be revealed to him, and declared himself not worthy even to undo his sandal strap. If we are to gain the reverence towards the person of Jesus which is his due, and which is the foundation of a true love for him, we must, at the very least, think carefully about him. That is to say, we must contemplate long and lovingly his very person. Especially must we take most seriously his divinity. It was altogether obvious to all that our Lord was human. While the humanity of Jesus is the way to God, it is not his humanity that is difficult to appreciate. For this, all we need do is exercise our religious imagination on what is offered us in the gospel scenes. And indeed, we must be doing this every day of our lives if we are to grow in a profound love for Jesus. But we must take especially seriously the testimony of the Gospels that the man Jesus is divine. This is what makes this child of Bethlehem, this man whom John the Baptist is referring to in our Gospel today, so utterly, utterly unique. Our danger today is that of having a casual attitude to Jesus, of being like so many in his own lifetime, his own townspeople, and so many who saw and heard him, who acted towards him as persons who are not in the know. The question of the ages is, where and who is God? Full of reverence and love, the Christian answers, there he is. God is Jesus. There was recently talk again of the astronomers trying to determine whether there is any planet like ours in any galaxy other than our own. If there is, it would open up the likelihood, so they think, of other human beings there. Whatever of that, what makes our earth so unique is that the great God became one of us. This child of Bethlehem, whom we celebrate in this Christmas season, is this one God. Let us ponder the words of John in today's Gospel so as to gain the reverence we should have for Jesus Christ.